Greetings, my magnificent friends. Well, I feel like a pirate today because I have a patch over my eye. I don't have to wear the patch after eye surgery, but my eye is pretty blurry and it's weeping a little bit because I'm sure it's feeling a little traumatized from everything that it's gone through. So, but I wanted to do tea with Sue today anyway, if I possibly could, because it's important to me and I love coming every week. And of course, as you probably figured out, I always have more to say. So, and rather than just talk to myself, then it's so much more fun to talk to you. So this week, if you tuned in last week, I talked about this cool book I've been reading called Letting Go, The Pathway of Surrender. And this is a David Hawkins book. And I've taken his information to heart, and I've been working on releasing emotions, particularly emotions that we would be considered less than life enhancing. So let's dive in a little bit here. I have my tea. I think I have enough depth perception that I can sip at it without actually dumping it all over the keyboard here. We'll give it a shot. And of course, you're joining Tea with Sue, and I'm Sue Paulson, your magnificence mentor. So, isn't it interesting how life brings us all kinds of opportunities to explore what's going on with us? Now, I think lots of times because we're starting out perceiving the world around us, then we tend to come to believe that lots of things that go on, or the way we feel about lots of what goes on, comes from outside of us, when actually it doesn't. It comes from inside. And we either acknowledge that that's where it's coming from, or we might repress it, or we might project it onto somebody else. So and so did that to me. And the way I feel is because of what they did to me. So that's just a normal way of being as we grow from childhood into adulthood and so on. The challenge is that it's less than life enhancing when we don't begin to understand that the way we're feeling is because of us and what's going on inside of us. So let me give you a little example here. So last week, when I was first starting this book and looking at the idea of just sitting with my emotions and then releasing them, kind of like, I guess I envisioned these emotions that just fill the hot air balloon, and then the balloon floated up, and all that negative energy was just transformed. So what was in the basket last week? So a lot of what was in the basket last week was I had a lot of sadness and grief in that basket. And when I sat with it and allowed myself to feel it, I realized that it kind of shifted, because I was wondering at the same time. It's pretty hard to not have a thought about where is all that sadness and grief coming from, and is there something more? So I dove in a little deeper and discovered that underneath of that was fear. And I'm going, well, what am I afraid of? And the realization hit that I was afraid of being abandoned. I was afraid of being alone. So if you come from a big family, which I do, I have lots of relatives. And because we tend to be quite a long-lived bunch, then I have lots of them still around. And I'm very blessed that I have several elderly relatives that are past 80 years old, and most of them still in pretty decent health and so on. But of course, the idea of losing them, of them not being in my life anymore and being alone, was scary for me. So fear was right next to that sense of abandonment and aloneness and so on. And so I sat with that and then did my best to allow it to go. So it's interesting that then this week I found myself being, of course, I was scared about this upcoming surgery. I I don't know anybody else that would be all that thrilled with having, sharp objects coming at your eye. And so I didn't know what to expect. I mean, how do you prepare for eye surgery or for any surgery for that matter when you don't really know what's going to happen and how it's going to feel and all of those kinds of things? It was so interesting when I arrived in the little ward where we were waiting for our turn to discover that there were a couple of people in. It was a 4-bed room, and two of the beds were also two of the other beds were occupied, and these people were as frightened, if not more frightened than I was. And they confessed it out loud. Wow, I'm really apprehensive about this. I don't know what's going to happen. And so I'm going, oh, well, I guess I'm not alone in this boat. So I took some comfort from that and said, actually, okay, we're doing this and we're doing it together. So then as I got, everything went successfully, and I got home, and of course I'm wandering around with this eye just not feeling like itself, and weeping, and I'm not able to read really, and I wasn't interested in watching TV, and so I was sort of out of sorts. So I thought, well, let's just sit with some of these feelings, and I found myself being very irritated. And and as I looked at the people in my life, I found that there was quite a few people that I was quite irritated with. And I'm going, well, that's interesting because I don't usually experience that level of irritation. So what's that all about? Does it really have anything to do with them? And I realized that no, it didn't have anything to do with them. It was what was coming from inside me. Doggone it. You know, I don't like admitting that, but there it is. So what was the irritation all about? I found myself sitting in judgment about where other people were at in their lives. Well, why didn't they just get it? Why didn't they grab hold and look at heaven on earth and say, wow, I want a big piece of that. I want to be happy. I want to be joyful. I want to be fulfilled. I want to be just energized and ecstatic about what I see and what I'm experiencing, because the world is a pretty cool place. All you have to do is watch some of these film, the documentaries on Netflix that show our world in living color through the photography that these so talented people do. And you go, wow, we live in a really amazing environment. And so there's lots to be excited about and lots to be grateful for and lots to be thankful about. And yet I would see far too many people that I knew hanging out in some kind of misery, whether it was frustration or anger or depression or um, worry or fear, all of those emotions that are considered to be less than life enhancing. And I'm going, well, come on now, get on with it. And well, then when I decided, instead of projecting that irritation onto them, to turn that lens inward. And I guess it's all about seeing differently, right? So I have this new lens now. So it caused me and triggered in me this need to go inward and look at things differently and experiencing everything differently. So what I discovered as I went inward, I began to realize that that judgment has been a big thing for me lately, that I have really been judging where I'm at, as in, it's not where I think I, quotes, should have been by now. At this stage of my life, how come I haven't got it? How come I'm not as, I don't have as abundant a life as I thought I would have? How come I'm not experiencing certain things in my life that I thought I would have? How come I'm not as peaceful, as loving, as calm, as gracious, as grateful, etc., 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 with all the years that I've been on planet Earth? How come? And well, I don't have an answer to that, quite honestly. How come? I don't know, because I don't. And that's just the bottom line. And yet, how bad is it really? Well, it isn't bad at all unless I perceive it to be, unless I put this big label on it and judge it as wrong, bad, terrible, horrible, whatever. And in fact, it isn't really that. It's life. Life is a challenge, and every day we get these challenges that come at us and come at us. And in each second that we get a new challenge, we also have a new opportunity to decide, how am I going to deal with this? Sometimes we hit that default button that projects us right to anger, or projects us right to fear, or projects us right to a state of being that maybe is less than desirable. Well, that's what happens. And then as we become more aware, if we're interested in saying, man, this doesn't feel that good. Isn't there an alternative? Couldn't I pick better? What's out there? Well, of course, what's out there are all of the life enhancing emotions that we can tag into, just as we tag into the less than life enhancing. So if we look at a kind of a hierarchy of where's the point, David Hawkins talks about anything below courage is less than life enhancing. So there's the pride of ego, there's apathy, there's anger, there's depression, there's guilt, there's shame, all of those, there's fear, there's grief. All of those are less than life enhancing. Above that, we have love and peace and joy, and of course courage is kind of the midpoint there. So anything courage and up fills us with a peace and a sense of well-being. That's such a worthy goal. But of course, you can't be mired in the negative and experience the positive at the same time. So something has to give. So part of the surrender is to allow ourselves to let go of whatever is not serving us, to allow ourselves to feel the feeling. And interestingly, Hawkins says, when you allow yourself to feel those feelings. So if I'm feeling anger, I allow myself to feel that feeling, and then all the thoughts that are associated with that particular focus on anger, when I let go of the anger and release it, just allow it to just breeze on through, then I end up releasing the thoughts as well. They disappear too. And I'm going, oh, I feel better. I feel more calm, more peaceful, more, it's like a load that's been lifted. And it is a load that's been lifted. That's exactly what's happening that's what enlightenment is, right? We lighten up. So we release the burdens, give them up to the universe, to a higher power, to the ether, wherever that stuff goes for transformation. I kind of imagine sometimes that all these hot air balloons are just floating up into the stratosphere, and then whatever angels are up there just just blasting them and transforming it into this cool, wonderful, peaceful, joyful energy. So that's what kind of works for me when I imagine that happening. Well, any moment you've had where peace has washed over you is a moment to treasure and a moment to build on, because if you've done it once, you can do it again. And is it a is there a finish line? Well, not that I've noticed so far. It seems as if I still have negative emotions that jump out at me or seep into me from a variety of sources. So it seems as if there's more to release and more to release. Do I like having to keep doing that focus? Well, at the moment, I don't really like it. No, I'm thinking, oh, give me a break. But of course, I take a break from it from time to time. And then when it's time, I dive in again. In the meantime, when the peace comes or the joy comes or the gratitude comes, I revel in that. And I just sit in that moment and say, oh, life is grand. Life is worth living. And then I guess it gives me more energy. And when the time is right, I go again and say, what else? What else? What else? Now, I've been doing this for this whole releasing thing started in my 20s when I took my very first personal growth program. So for 50 years, I've been working on releasing from time to time. And it does get easier. For a while, for a lot of years there, I was so in denial about my feelings. Like growing up as a girl, a female, I wasn't allowed to be angry. That was not an emotion I was allowed to express. So any anger, mild or intense, was stuffed and stuffed and stuffed. So it took me a number of years before I would even acknowledge that I could be angry. And there was a point in my life where because I actually took lessons, I went to a psychologist and I said, look, I've talked my issues to death. I don't know how to feel. Can you teach me how to feel? And he used this EFT technique and supported me. And I felt all of my feelings. And so for weeks I went to him and really uncovered and experienced the full array of feelings. So that was new for me. And then I had a big significant emotional event that spiraled me right down into rage. I had no idea that I even knew what rage was or could experience it. And it was pretty scary, but I allowed myself to feel it. And eventually, because I was diligent about allowing it to come up and then letting it go, and allowing it to come up and letting it go, it began to dissipate. And then it was less, and then it was less, and then it was less. And there was such a peace at the end of that. It took some time, and I had to really focus to get it to that point. But the benefits that I got from that, and then of course, when we allow the intensity of those negative emotions to really enter our being and then release them, we're able to experience the intensity of all the other emotions too. The joy was more intense after that. My sense of peace grew exponentially. My gratitude, my compassion, all of those other feelings just blossomed like flowers in the spring. And so it's worth the effort. It's worth exploring that. And now I find that I don't have the level of negative thoughts so much. They're more easily dealt with, and then I don't give them the weight that I used to. And that's been really helpful. So if you're on this path of wanting to create your own little piece of heaven on earth, I challenge you to really explore the feelings that you're going through in this moment and over the next while, and say, wow, is there something there that I need to let go of? I mean, we can escape from them. There's lots of devices out there that we can use to escape. We have our computers, we have our tablets, we have games, we have, all manner of distractions and things that we get addicted to that take us away from the most important work, which is the inner work. And fair enough, but at some point, if you've decided, I want to grab hold, I want to live my life differently, then we quit blaming it on others. We take responsibility for what's going on inside of us, and we have a tremendous love and compassion for what we're going through, recognizing life isn't easy. It's a big challenge. We didn't come here necessarily for it to be easy. We came to experience the richness of what there is. Well, whatever imagination can dream up, that's what's here on planet Earth, and we get to pick how is that for us. So I don't know about you, but now I'm on this path of saying, I don't want to stop myself from experiencing all of the good that is there for me, whatever I deem quotes good to be. Bring it on. I want it. I've had the other part, and I got lots of experience about that. There were times when I wished I didn't have a lot of that experience, but I got it. So now let's flip the coin over and say, okay, what's it like on this other side? So can I see my life differently than I've seen it up to this point? How can I view what's going on differently so that it serves me, not detracts from the magnificence that is me, and of course, the magnificence that is you. So this week, I really want to encourage you to just even a little bit explore some of those feelings that rise up. And sometimes your thoughts will lead you there. Well, then move as quickly as you can from the thoughts into the feelings, and allow yourself to feel those feelings in your body. Where is it sitting? Is it sitting in a migraine? Is it sitting in your gut? Is it sitting in your shoulders? Our bodies communicate to us when all is not well. So where is some of that tension and pressure sitting? And what can you do to experience it, embrace it actually, and accept that it's there, accept that it's real for you, and then do what you can to just let it go, and then let it go. And I think you'll find that you'll get this little reward of a wave of peace, or a little sense of happiness, or some gratitude will come to fill up that space. You know you can do this because you are that magnificent. I know this, and I want you to know it too. In the meantime, if you're enjoying Tea with Sue, tune in every Friday. You can see more Tea with Sue on my YouTube channel or through Global Strong's YouTube channel. And of course, I have my app, The Magnificence Mentor, that can give you even more stuff to listen to or watch. Enjoy your weekend. We're in the midst of May, and it's a growth time. So I want all the best for you. We'll look forward to chatting next week.